Hello, good evening or good day, depending when you're watching this lesson. We're going to carry on with Rabash's social articles. As you know, and today I've got Jonathan with me. How are you doing, Johnny?
Good. How are you doing? Hello, everybody.
Great. And we're going to carry on with Rabash's social writings as part of our third semester. And today we're going to read an article, again from the Rabash Social Writings book. It's on page 54 concerning the importance of friends. So, as you know, we've done quite a few articles talking about how the society needs to function, how the society is put together, brought together, and is working together in order to advance in spirituality. So what we're going to do is carry on and talk about why the group, why the friends are specifically important to advance and to move forward in spirituality. So we'll get smashing. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask them. If you're watching it offline in your own time, you can always send questions to Asia or Africa at kabbalah.academy, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions in the next lesson and give you some insight. And we'll see how we go. So I'll start reading as usual, and we'll go paragraph by paragraph, and then we'll come up with some explanations. And if you are watching live, you can also feel free to ask questions. The friends will pass it on to us as we move forward. Okay, so concerning the importance of friends, this is an article from 1984. Concerning the importance of the friends in the society and how to appreciate them, meaning with which kind of importance everyone should regard his friend. Common sense dictates that if one regards one's friend as being at a lower degree than one's own, he will want to teach him how to behave more virtuously than the qualities he has. Hence, he cannot be his friend. He can take the friend as a student, but not as a friend. This means that precisely when one sees one's friend as being at an equal degree to one's own, one can accept the other as a friend and bond with him. This is so because a friend means that both parties are in the same state. This is what common sense dictates. In other words, they have the same views and thus decide to bond. Then both of them act towards the goal that they both wish to achieve. It's like two like-minded friends who are doing business together to achieve a profit. In this situation, they feel that they have equal powers. But should one of them feel that he is more competent than the other, he will not want to accept him as an equal partner. Instead, they would create a proportional partnership according to the strength and qualities that one has above the other. In that state, the partnership is a 33 or 25% partnership, and it cannot be said that they are equal in the business. But with love of friends, when friends bond to create unity among them, it explicitly means that they are equal. This is called unity. For example, if they do business together and say that the profits will not be distributed equally, is this called unity? Clearly, a business of love of friends should be when all the profits and possessions that the love of friends yields will be equally controlled by them. They should not hide or conceal from one another, but everything will be with love, friendship, truthfulness, and peace. Okay, so up to here, we read about just a page and a bit. So Rabash just wants to underline one thing. If we're in a group studying the wisdom of Kabbalah and we want to be a group of Kabbalists, we have to first understand that everybody's equal. So there are no sergeants or corporals. Everybody's equal. No higher ranks. The friends are all equal. We study together. We work together. And although we have different qualities, different thoughts, opinions, we have different talents. One may be better at something than the other, and the other might be better than somebody else in doing something else. All these things doesn't matter. What's important is that all of the friends who've decided to come together to walk on the path of truth, which is called the wisdom of Kabbalah, in order to come to the purpose of life, which is to attain the degree and the perception of the Creator while living in this life, in corporeality, then those friends who have committed to that are considered equal. Despite how smart one might be, how talented one might be compared to the others, doesn't matter. When it comes to spirituality, everyone's heart is equal, and no one's heart is superior to somebody else's. Although we may feel that intellectually in our mind and so forth we're better, but spirituality is not in the mind, it's in the heart. So when it comes to spirituality, here everyone is equal. And if we don't treat the group, the friends, all the individuals in such a manner, then we cannot be equal, and thus henceforth we cannot be friends and we cannot connect. And if two people cannot connect, then they cannot connect with the Creator either. So if I can't connect with the person that I see right in front of me, how could I possibly expect to connect with the Creator, who I have no perception of whatsoever? So it's a very important topic, and in a nutshell, this is what he's trying to tell us.
Yeah, so Marty, I wanted to ask, in your experience in the many years that you've been studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, and I can say also for myself, that one of the challenges is reaching this point of equality between the friends, because we all get influenced by disturbances of this world, calculations of this world, of how a person looks, how a person acts, how a person behaves, and that influences this idea of looking at a friend in an equal way.
Absolutely.
I have a job, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a banker, etc. You have a job, you're a postman. How can I look at you as equal?
That's a great question.
Yeah, so how do we deal with that?
That's right, because in society we have classes, don't we? You know,
Correct.
There are people who are educated, less educated, and therefore we kind of rank ourselves in society. You know, just like you have the high class, the middle class, and the low class. It's classic Western society or English society, Anglo society division. However, though, in spirituality we're not dealing with corporeality at all. Corporeality, in fact, is completely disconnected in terms of sensing spirituality. So it has nothing to do with attaining spirituality at all. So you could be Einstein, or you could be, I don't know, a cobbler. Okay, it doesn't matter. What matters here is equality is that we've all decided to come together and unite for the specific purpose of attaining the Creator. And in the goal we're equal. So what makes us equal is we're equal in the goal.
So can I perhaps say this as well? Does it mean in your thoughts as well that in the heart there's no clothing of this world?
Absolutely.
You know, there's no evaluations of this world.
None whatsoever.
Something above our physical existence that we know. The work of the heart.
Absolutely. This is why spirituality is purely inner work. Has nothing to do. It has no clothing on this corporeal dimension or existence whatsoever. In fact, this corporeal reality is, as we move forward in this spirituality, is this complete lie. Wow. It doesn't really even exist. It's like we're just like little kids playing games. You know, when we were kids, we were playing with small cars. You know, and we're growing up, we were playing with bigger cars. You know, who's got the more flash car kind of thing. It's the same thing. Right. It's the same kid. One's 5 years old, the other one's 35 years old, but the mentality is the same mentality. So he hasn't really grown up from the concept of the car. You know, he had a nice toy car. Now he's got a nice driving car. You know, a regular car as a grown up. But his mind hasn't changed. His mentality hasn't changed. So he hasn't really developed at all. Do you know what I mean? So all those years that he's lived and gone through is like pretty much added up to nothing. You know. So what we're talking about here is not this corporeal development, but we're talking about this inner qualitative development that a person needs to go through. And all of those things are in one's sensations and thoughts. And this is why spirituality is called the inner work of a person.
Right.
All right, so let's continue. But in the essay, A Speech for the Completion of the Zohar, it is written, the measure of the greatness comes under two conditions. 1. To always listen and receive the appreciation of society. 2. To the extent of, let me read that again. 1. To always listen and receive the appreciation of society to the extent of their greatness. And secondly, the environment should be great, as it is written, in the multitude of people is the king's glory. To accept the first condition, each student must feel that he is the smallest among all the friends, and then he will be able to receive the appreciation of the greatness from everyone. This is so because the greater one cannot receive from the smaller one, much less be impressed by his words. Only the lower one is impressed by the appreciation of the greater one. And for the second condition, each student must extol each friend's merit as though he were the greatest of the generation. Then the environment will affect him as a great environment should, since quality is more important than quantity. It follows that in the matter of love of friends, they help each other, meaning it is enough for everyone to regard his friend as being of the same degree as his own. But because everyone should learn from his friend, there is the issue of Rav and disciple, so like the teacher and the student. For this reason, he should consider the friend as greater than himself. But how can one consider one's friend greater than himself when he can see that his own merits are greater than his friends, that he is more talented and has better natural qualities? There are two ways to understand this, but before we go down to that, let's go over this text that we just read here and see how we go with that. Now, let's just read this again. The measure of greatness comes under two conditions. Okay, 1, to always listen and receive the appreciation of society to the extent of their greatness. And the second one is the environment should be great, as it is written, in the multitude of people is the king's glory. So basically Rabash is telling, listen, if you want the environment, the friends to influence you, first of all, you need to feel that your friends are really amazing. Okay, you got to feel like they're the greatest friends you've ever had. They're all wonderful and they're huge. In your eyes, they really need to be important for you. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, let me put these glasses on. So I need to appreciate the society. So I need to make sure I feel that they're great. And the second one is the environment should be great, as it is written, in the multitude of people is the king's glory. So the more there are people in the group, that's also a very important factor. So first of all, I have to look at it from a qualitative point of view, that the friends are really, creme de la creme of spirituality as they study with us. And secondly, the more friends I've got in the group, the bigger and the stronger the group is, the more influence I get from them. Now, these two states of influence, these two factors that really influence me, are not going to happen overnight. I just wanted to stick this in there. So seeing the friends as great is really a work that someone must do. So I can't just pop my head in there and think and believe blindly that they're all great, because that's not going to work out. But the more I put into my study, the more I try to connect with them, the more we all help each other. Like in the previous articles we read, how to nullify ourselves, how to help the friends, how to make sure the goal is great in our eyes, how we're all, constantly working on the greatness, the importance of the goal. The more I do this with the friends and the more things I go through in life, just like in relationships, I begin to appreciate them and see them as great. Just like when you have a spouse and you go through life, through all the ups and downs together, that makes her so much more valuable. Why? Because there's quality behind everything you went through. So she's no longer just a pretty face, but she's a very, very sophisticated, intelligent, strong person that's walking next to you. So you appreciate her now for much deeper, much qualitative aspects that she has. And the same with the friends. So the more in touch you're with the friends, the more you try to connect with them, the more everyone tries to help each other. And despite all the things we're going through in life with work, health, family, all kinds of issues and problems in life, you see that the friends are with you trying to advance in spirituality. Then you can begin this appreciation process. So not going to happen overnight, not going to happen when you just stick your head in. It's going to take time, it's going to take investment, just like any friendship, any relationship, anything. Okay? So it's worthwhile saying that so we don't get any funny ideas like we're, jump in there and everything. Everyone's great. You want to say something, John, or no? Okay, good. So let's move forward. So this is important to understand. So first of all, when I enter the group though, however, I need to give all my friends some value. All right, and that value is, as we learned in the previous articles, the importance of the goal. Because if the meaning of life for me, the purpose of life is important, as soon as I meet with these people and I start studying, I already have a point where I can start to appreciate them. So I have a stepping stone. We've got the initial, the clinging point where we can actually say, you know what, these guys are really great simply because I want to come to the meaning of life, and so do they. And at least now I can work with them, study with them, and move forward in this venture.
Look, I have a question here. You're talking about the appreciation of the friends. Even in this world, if a friend does something for you or makes you feel good about yourself, or compliments you, etc., has similar interests, you appreciate them because it appeals to your desire to receive, so to speak. So how do we take this appreciation in the spiritual work of a friend who's doing similar types of work to you? I mean, where's that common? Where do you find that point of appreciation?
That's a good question.
It's always a challenge, isn't it?
Exactly. But what we have to do is we have to always define things according to the goal.
Right.
Okay, so in corporate reality, like if you have a partnership, you want to make money, you want to grow the company and be successful and so forth. So here as well, we have to define our common goal and we have to be clear cut. Like in Rabash's articles we studied before, he says a group of people must come together and must all agree and decide that this is their goal. So this agreement between us that we want to attain spirituality is already it's like the first clause. So we all gathered here to study spirituality in order to rise in the rungs of being a human, Adam, and not remain as a corporeal animal in this level. So we all decided that this is the objective of our gathering. And because for everyone, if that small, that little dot in the heart, small inclination to discover the Creator, to advance in spirituality, now becomes important because I see that, I've got 20, 30, 40 friends around me and we're all studying and this is our goal. So this is important for us. Wow. So everybody receives importance because everybody is now connected to this one goal, and we can now measure everything, define everything, intend with all our direction, like intend in everything we do. Our intention should always be in that direction. So we're all advancing in spirituality and not really mixing the day-to-day corporeal dirt, on the street into our spiritual work, because we're in that all day anyway, So when a person wants to come to the group, he wants to make sure he wants his thoughts and desires to be pretty much cleaned out, because all day we're in corporeal desires, with work and this and that and so on. So the environment should be very important for all of us because it's an opportunity to kind of clean us out. It's like flushing us out.
But that appreciation is something that, would you agree, it's something's intrinsic. It's something that's not that you can touch and feel. That, okay, Mutlu's given me my glasses. I appreciate that you've given me something that I can put my eyes so I can see better. It's a feeling that happens as a result of being together and doing common group work and distribution of the wisdom of Kabbalah, discussing the materials together, etc. It's a process.
Absolutely, it is a process.
It doesn't just happen like this.
Absolutely,
would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, like in the relationship example I gave.
Right,
It takes years to build this up. However, though, we're lucky to have this thing called a dot in the heart.
Right.
So this dot in the heart gives us this initial, drive to start to study it. It gives us a good inclination to, come on, let's do it. I want to attain this, and so forth. So it's like this initial trigger. It's like the starter in the car when you just, start, going in there. And once the engine is running, obviously, the more you study and stay with the guys and move forward in spirituality, you start to put the car into gear 1, gear 2, and you start pressing the gas and start moving forward. So it's all a process, obviously, but if a person has a dot in the heart and he's with other people who have a dot in the heart, so obviously we all have the same goal, that's already an appreciation. And what we discover in the wisdom of Kabbalah is that mostly people come after years of searching. So many of the friends who came to the wisdom of Kabbalah went through a lot of stuff. Religions, spiritual teachings, methods.
That's what I was going to ask you. How's it, in religion or in Zen Buddhism or other, types of belief systems, how's the appreciation, how does it differ, the appreciation in this work compared to those belief systems or ways of?
The dot in the heart, John, is the only thing. Because in the end of the day, when you're studying a spiritual method and you're looking for something, you need to have a question in your life. Okay, like, what's the meaning of my life? Why am I living? If a person is born into religion, like, a person is born in a religious family, so he's raised that way, he doesn't really have much choice. He's just stuck in that path. He's trained, educated, like a soldier from childhood, and that's what he ends up being. He becomes a religious person. Or sometimes they leave religion simply because they just can't really reconcile their life with what they're doing. And that also is true in our generation. However, though, what really differentiates a person that comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah is this powerful drive for the answer to this question: why am I living? Who created me, and what the heck does he want? Because life is blurry. You don't understand. You understand you're going to die. You understand there are not many fulfillments in life. They're all fleeting pleasures. So you got this, little dilemma. And a person really needs to have the strong dot in the heart to really search until he finds answers and he says, wow, this is it. So that's the initial drive that we have. And then we have to grow that drive. And that's how the group comes into play.
Right.
So, I'm just going to read a few more paragraphs down here. It follows that the matter of love of friends, they help each other, meaning it is enough for everyone to regard his friend as being of the same degree as his own. But because everyone should learn from his friends, there is the issue of the teacher and the student. For this reason, he should consider the friend as greater than himself. Now, this is actually a good point. When you study the wisdom of Kabbalah, you learn a lot of things from your friends, okay? Because your teacher isn't always around in front of you, but you're always with the friends. You study together, you try to connect together, bond together. So as you study spirituality and you try to apply what you learned with the friends to come to this connection, what happens is you actually learn in that environment. So then your friends actually become like a teacher to you. It's not that they come up to you and teach you and tell you what to do. That's not the issue of teaching here. The issue of learning from the friends is learning from the states that we're going through as we study and apply the wisdom of Kabbalah. So that becomes very valuable. Then you start to see friends as being valuable because you understand that all the inner things that you're going through is because of them. And if they weren't around, you wouldn't have gone through any inner discernment or inner development at all. So you immediately consider the friends as great and as a teacher because you're learning so much from them. So this teacher and student concept here is not like somebody's going to come and tell you, teach you things and so on as a friend. But no, the more you integrate with the friends, you learn with them, study with them, apply what you learned with them, then each of them becomes a teacher for you because you learn more from the friends than you actually learn from your teacher. Why is that? Because the teacher is teaching you the material. What the friends teach you is how you feel that material. And that's already priceless. It's like somebody's teaching you how to swim from a book, but the friends take you out to the swimming pool and say, yeah, let's do this. We're going to learn how to swim today. And they put you into the water and they teach you. So that's how much of a big gap there is. So learning from the friends is very, very valuable. So as a group of students, we learn from the teacher what to do. But when we're studying and doing the things that we learned between us, we're learning much more because we're actually living the process of what was taught from the book. Therefore, authentic Kabbalah sources are very, very important, and to apply it with a group of friends is doubly important, simply because otherwise I've got no chance of going through the feelings and sensations that they're really describing in the book.
If I could ask a question there, Mutlu, something that amazed me in the wisdom of Kabbalah, that in certainly in religion, they focused a lot on the individual, meaning you can attain this, you can feel this, etc. In Kabbalah, it's talking about the we, because in spirituality, the I really doesn't exist. Absolutely. It's only the collective exists. Absolutely. We as one common soul. So going back to that, I think that sort of reinforces the importance of the group.
Absolutely, just like in society.
Yeah.
In society, we also can't live alone. If anybody wants to go up and move onto the mountaintop and live on his own, he or she is going to just go through a lot of hardship, unnecessarily too. Okay, it's just unnecessary hardship. In society, everything we need, our food, clothing, shelter, whatever we need, is provided by society. So the society is already a role model because, I can see that, wow, society is necessary for me to sustain my corporeal life because I work and I'm giving a service to the public and I'm making money from it and I'm eating from it, I'm taking care of the kids, I've got shelter, food, clothing, all these things. Why? Because I'm actually integrated into a society. So I'm profiting from it, but I'm also spending that profit so that others can profit from it. And the whole society is like it's like this system that's working. It's like a body that's working.
Right.
And same here. So a person also needs to integrate himself into the society so that this system begins to work, this body starts to work. And from there, you begin to get obviously spiritual profit, which is what he's talking about here in the first page of the article that we read. So it's like we've entered a business and what we're profiting from this is spiritual profit. So everyone, when working together, attains that spiritual profit equally as much as they're integrated in the system.
I remember actually when I started studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, as I was in Australia, and I had a lot of stress living in Sydney, very big city, very stressful, intense, and I was looking for the meaning of life. And I went to Tasmania, which is a small island to the south of Australia. Very, very quiet, very peaceful, and I felt really at peace. No one was bothering me. I was just in the zone and really chilled out and all the rest. I thought, okay, this is what life's all about. I found what real life is all about. But then I went back home, back to Sydney, and then all the stuff came crashing down on me again.
Uh-huh.
So, and I realized this is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to find material that you can live with in our modern day-to-day life where we're all in jobs, where we've got families, where we learn, we have to live day to day and make our crust, etc., etc.
Absolutely.
It needs to be real.
Yeah.
And Kabbalah it needs to be real, and Kabbalah is really real, and we can apply it to our day-to-day lives.
Absolutely. You know, there are a lot of methods out there where you go off to some mountaintop or you shut yourself down in a monastery or in the desert somewhere, but that's not really the answer at all, because what happens is the beauty about humanity is it's so rich. And there are all kinds of people in there, and we're all different. You know, our faces are different, the way we think are different, our opinions are different, and this is actually a great plus. It's a huge advantage.
Right.
If you understand how to integrate to a society, then you actually get everything from them. So this really multiplies your richness, enriching yourself with the number of people in there. This is why he says, you know, there's quantity and quality. So at the same time, we've got a common quality, this dot in the heart who seeks spirituality. On the other hand, the more people there are, the stronger the society is and the greater the goal is for us. Then from that number of people, I have more discernments, which actually enrich all the states that I'm going through.
Right.
And this is the same thing for human society.
Correct.
It's not a coincidence that we're social animals living in society, communities, and so on. This is not a coincidence. This is how we developed throughout centuries, and this is exactly how spiritual development also happens.
And actually we've seen typically, like in Europe and even Australia and in the Western countries, that the level of depression is so high that the people feel very like alone and isolated.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel they're connecting to the other people around them or their society in general, and it's going against actually the forces of nature.
Absolutely.
The forces of nature means we're supposed to be together and we're supposed to unite and be part of the collective.
Absolutely.
Group, society, where we're all interdependent.
Absolutely. The biggest sickness.
So Kabbalah encourages that, and it talks about nature.
Absolutely.
Talks about how we should be.
It is a wisdom that explains, you know, human nature and the general laws of nature. So the millennials, the biggest problem of millennials, they're the loneliest generation ever to exist.
Right.
And simply because we're all, you know, living in our phones now.
That's
so
right.
We're not really connecting with anyone.
Yeah.
And although we're living in a society, in a city, because we have this lack of human touch, human connection, we're actually psychologically very unstable. And we can't get fulfillment from materialism anymore. So this lack of fulfillment, and I've got no friends around me, there's no one I can trust, rely, I've got no connection with anyone, is really putting people, you know, into greater depths of depression.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry to deviate.
No, absolutely. This is not a deviation. It's actually quite good. We all need to understand that this is how society works, and the wisdom of Kabbalah is actually is a replication of society. Simply, there's only one difference. The goal is different. You know, in corporeal society, you going after your corporeal desires, which are fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all. But a Kabbalistic society says, well, you know, we need corporeality, that's for sure, because we need to eat, drink, we need to, you know, we can't run around the streets naked, we need clothing, and so on. And at the same time, though, we want to develop our soul. So for the benefit of spirituality, we're putting together a community which supports that development. Yeah. Just like in society, the society develops, you know, with the National Health Service or National Insurance Service, that the society supports you. If you're sick, you can go and get free health service and so on. And here as well, there's a society that supports your spiritual health. And that's basically, so quite parallel. So there's nothing, you know, out of the box here, there's nothing new. It's the same laws of nature applying just for different goals. Right then. But how can one consider one's friend greater than himself when he can see that his own merits are greater than his friends, that he is more talented and he has better natural qualities? There are two ways to understand this. 1. He is going with faith above reason. Once he has chosen him as a friend, he appreciates him above reason. So this is important to understand before I go into the second one. If I've decided to go on a mission, right, and because this is a mission, right, we're going on a mission to attain spirituality, and I understand that we're all committed to it, That's it. There's nothing for me to question about how smart this guy is, or how smart I am, or he's silly, I'm smart, or I'm silly, he's clever. It doesn't matter. The whole concept here is that we've decided to go for this goal. Just like in a football team, right? Not everybody is the goalkeeper, and not everybody is the forward man scoring all the goals. It's teamwork. So you're going to have some guys on the defense because that's what they're good at. They're really good at defense. You're going to have to get some guys who are really good with the footwork and they can pass the ball around in the midfield. And you've got some really talented guys who can stick their heads in or foot in to score a goal. So it's all teamwork, but you can't expect the goalkeeper to go out of his way and start scoring goals. He's just not going to be able to do that. And this is also teamwork. So I can't expect all my friends to have the same qualities, the same talents, the same, IQs and all kinds of stuff. And that's not equal. Society is not equal as well. If it was, we'd either all be rich and none of us would work, so we'd probably all die of hunger. Okay? Because who's going to do the farming? Who's going to make the food? All right? Or we'd all be really, bad. We'd all be really stupid. We'd not get anything done. So society has different types of people. Some are good organizers. Some are hard workers. That's what they enjoy. And they're not, feeling bad from it. They enjoy doing that work. Some people love to work with animals. Some people love to work with plants. They love being a farmer. They like being in nature because that's how they are. And some people, they like to be, in front of a computer programming things, and they love it. And they can sit in front of a computer for 12 hours non-stop because that's what they love to do. But one is not greater than the other because they're, just doing different things. And same in the society as well. But all of these people in society are working for the society because the computer programmer is doing our software. The guy who's at the manufacturing line of the computer, he's putting it together. There's another guy who's doing the accounting of the company. There's another guy driving the trucks for delivery. So it's all one body, one system. So it is irrelevant for us to start putting friends into some kind of a category like I'm better than them or they're better than me, I'm not good. It's just irrelevant. That's the first thing. And this is why he says you must go above reason. There we go. Just like in a team. Because this is teamwork. It's not an individual thing. Individual work. So everybody completes everybody else, just like in society, just like in a company, just like in a football team. Number 2, this is more natural within reason. If he has decided to accept the other as a friend and works on himself to love him, then it is natural with love to see only good things. And even though there are bad things in one's friend, he cannot see them, as it is written, love covers all transgressions. Okay, so the other one is what the first one was above reason. And now he says, well, there's another way you can look at things is within reason. And the way to come to within reason is requiring, like he says here, a bit of work. Now, for me to appreciate the friend within reason, I have to try and love him. I have to develop some kind of a connection with him. It's like our spouses. Every now and then we have an argument. Okay? So because some things pop up. And when we have an argument, though, we're not deleting the relationship and going off to the lawyers, getting a breakup or a divorce. What we're doing is we're working on it. So what then happens is once you resolve a conflict with your spouse, you actually strengthen your love. So these little ups and downs that the couples go through, if they overcome it properly and smartly by understanding that their natures are different, so they can't really, reconcile and understand each other if their natures are different, because a man and a woman have different natures. And just like friends have different natures as well, okay? So we understand we're different, but we understand we have a common goal. Just like in the family, you've got a common family, and to maintain it, to grow it, look after it is your common goal as you and your spouse. So here also our common sense dictates that when we're trying to go and achieve a certain goal in spirituality, what we want to do is actually go and try to build that relationship, connection with the friend. And as we try to do that, then the way we look at the friends become within my reason as they're great, as they're lovable. So this is a bit of work that takes on, just like in our corporeal friendships as well. When you become a friend with someone, you become acquainted, but by the time you become good friends, you can trust and, you can depend on them with your life and so forth. It takes a lot of things to go through. And so after a while, it becomes within reason that, yeah, he's got a few flaws here and there, but you know what, he's my best mate. Why? Because you went through a lot together, you're like good friends, you can trust each other, and you've proven that along the way, and so on. So as we work together, first we go above reason. Afterwards, as we work, we within reason begin to love our friends. And this is also true for all relationships in life.
Mudlu, I also want to ask a question here, that we're talking about the notion of faith above reason, etc. These are all essentially spiritual states, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's this whole article that we're reading now is written by a Kabbalist who was at a certain degree and
Absolutely.
is writing from that degree about how we should optimally, if that's the right word, or how we should feel in the spiritual, so to speak. Obviously, this takes time and etc. So, in reading the article, what should I do? Should I try aspire to be in these states? How should I look at it? I mean,
the articles of Rabash.
because I remember in studying Kabbalah at the beginning, this was like way out of there. Slowly after the years, a little bit here I grasped, a little bit there I grasped, but it takes time to work with the friends and work with the material, etc., etc. How do you view it?
Well, this is we have to always take the material and look at it from the level we're at.
Right.
So at this moment, we have to look at it as like, well, okay, I'm reading these articles now, and in the group I have to try and do them. So first of all, I've got to get my head in the group. Okay. And then I have to, feel that this goal is important for me. Otherwise, why would I get into the group? If it's not important, you wouldn't waste your time. So once I'm in there, though, I have to develop an approach. So initially, when we're developing it, the way I like to also explain it is like intellectually. So the person understands in his mind that, we're here for a certain goal and we're working on it. And because we're all different, we have different opinions. Yeah, we're going to have, different opinions that cause, misunderstandings and so forth, just like in real life. So the way I always see the article is when he says beyond reason here for a newcomer, beyond reason is, look, people are different and that's how it is. This is how we accept things in life as well. Sometimes you have a bad boss or, you have a bad colleague, let's say. You say, well, you know what? That's just how it is. I'm not going to change the guy. I can't change the guy. So I'm just going to do my work and, make the best of it. Right. That's in life we also have this acceptance. It's nothing foreign. It's nothing bizarre or weird that I now have to do something out of the ordinary to start thinking like these guys are great, or I have to go above reason, oh my God, all this kind of stuff. No, quite to the opposite. This is how it is in life as well. If I'm a doctor, I'm working at a hospital and I've got a few colleagues I don't get along with, but we're in the same operation room, I'm going to put the best, that I can, just like they have to save this patient. And this is the attitude that, we're initially, that's the kind of thing I'm trying to express. So in corporeality, this is how it is as well. So we're not doing anything, bizarre.
You made a very good point in discussions earlier. You were saying if a person comes to the wisdom and he has a point in the heart, he has like a starting point to start grasping or connecting with this material. If I take it to my family, for example, or friends I have maybe in Australia, they'll look at this and they'll say, this is like doesn't relate to me. It's like I've got no connections
Absolutely.
with. Give me a newspaper or football magazine or some business magazine that's more talking to me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's a real important starting point, isn't
Absolutely. But you know what, I also like to, I give corporeal examples a lot, just like I did right now. People are also living and going through this in corporeality. They're just not conscious enough to see.
Okay.
People go through phases and communication and connection with people that they get along with and they don't get along with. But either way, they have to manage it because they want to get something done.
Right.
Okay. And this is exactly what we're doing as well. You know, in order for me to get something done, which is attain spirituality, I just had to deal with it. So,
good point. Yeah.
yeah. So in corporeality, people are also going through the same stuff, simply because they're in their desire to receive only. They don't have a spiritual aspiration. Most of the time, they can just cut relationships off, cut friendships off. They can break up with someone, get a divorce, and cut the person out of their life.
Right.
But cutting a person out of your life in corporeality either is not really a solution. It's just it's not a real solution for your problems. The reason you had the problem in the first place is something that you got to develop within you in order to overcome it. But most people are not conscious of that situation, and they don't want to develop. They just want to feel good or bad. They're happy to just take the shortcut.
Right.
So in the wisdom of Kabbalah, though, we understand that this is how life is anyway.
Okay.
But I don't want to take a shortcut because the goal is important for us. So I want to make sure that I work with every situation, every condition that I'm really going through, digest it, learn from it, make changes in me. And if I can't make changes in me, I want to get help from the friends so that I can make those changes in order to get to the goal.
Right.
But in reality, everyone in corporeality really is going through the same kind of process. The difference is the level of consciousness.
Right.
Okay, we can see that I'm going to carry on reading and let's see what else he tells us. We can see that a person may see faults in his neighbor's children, but not in his own. And when someone mentions some faults in his children, he immediately resists his friend and begins to declare his children's merits. And the question is, which is the truth? After all, there are merits to his children, and hence he is upset when others speak of his children. The thing is this, as I had heard it from my father, indeed each person has advantages and disadvantages, and both the neighbor and the father are saying the truth. But the neighbor does not treat the other's children like a father to his children, since he does not have the same love for the children as the father does. Hence, when he considers the other's children, he sees only the children's faults, since this gives him more pleasure. This is because he can show that he is more virtuous than the other, because his own children are better. For this reason he sees only the other's faults. But what he is seeing is true, but he sees only things he enjoys. But the father too sees only the truth, except that he regards only the good things that his children have. He does not see his children's faults, since it gives him no pleasure. Hence he is saying the truth about what he sees in his children, and because he regards only the things that can please him, he sees only the virtues. It turns out that if one has love of friends, the rule in love is that you want to see the friends' merits and not their faults. Hence, if one sees some fault in one's friends, it is not a sign that his friend is at fault, but that he, the seer, is at fault. Meaning that because his love of friends is flawed, he sees faults in his friends. Therefore, now he should not see to his friends. Therefore, now he should not see to his friends' correction. Rather, he himself needs correction. It follows from all the above that he should not care for the correction of his friends' faults, which he sees in his friend, but he himself needs to correct the flaw he has created in the love of friends. And when he corrects himself, he will see only his friend's merits and not his faults. So as you can see here, we have a completely new approach. As Rabash also chips in here at the end of the article, that reality is perceived in me, and I only like to see what makes me happy. And seeing bad things in other people actually makes us happy, because I say, oh, I'm better. Or my kids are better, as in this example here. So what Rabash says, well, we've got to change that attitude. We have to change the way we look at things. And because everybody wants to please him or herself with what they see, we see faults in others, other people's children, and we see the merits of our children, we merits of ourselves. That's what we see, because that's what we like to see. Nobody likes to see the bad things in himself. So, according to the article here, if I see something bad in my friend, I have to immediately think, there's something wrong in my relationship, in how I relate to this person, that's making me see him as faulty. And that's what I need to change. This is a very important aspect, otherwise you'd never discover what you have to change. So working in a Kabbalistic society is very important, simply because it awakens me and directs me, it points at me and says, hey, this attitude needs to change. This approach needs to change. The way you see this friend needs to change. And if I change these things, then I begin to see my friends as great. I begin to see them as nice people, as good people, as I can, with merits instead of faults. And I can actually love them. Because love actually allows you to now see all the good in them rather than their faults. So this is a very important aspect. Something he touches right at the end, but very important. This is why spirituality is inner work. The wisdom of Kabbalah is constant inner work, where I'm constantly discerning everything that I'm perceiving between me and the friends, so I can start to make these little tweaks, changes, come to an understanding of what I am, who I am, what my nature is, and what I really need to do with it.
Mutli, when a person first comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah, I mean, we all know, and I speak for myself, I've always wanted to know what love really means. Okay. And, we've got corporal love, where you meet your first love in your life, or you love a particular person because they do nice things for you, or they treat you nicely, or they make you feel good, etc., etc. Here in this article, Rabash is talking about love of friends. Now, how do you compare, if I can talk globally here, this concept of loving spirituality to love that people talk about in this world?
If you
can round it off for us.
It's so disconnected. It's so disconnected. Love and spirituality and love and corporeality are just complete two different things. Really, the way they talk about love, because there's simply no other way to express it other than the word they're using here as love. But in our world, we are self-centered creatures. We live in an egoistic nature. So when we talk about love, when we say to someone, I love you, when we're egoistic, when we haven't, changed into spirituality, in our regular corporeal life, when somebody tells you, I love you, it's not that they love you. It's that they love the taste they get from this relationship. And that's what's defined as loving you. If tomorrow this relationship turns a little sour, they'll tell you, listen, I don't love you anymore. All right, this is what we see in a lot of couples in the 21st century. I loved you when we were married, but things have happened, now I don't love you anymore. Well, how could that be? That means you didn't love me in the first place. Why? Because love is defined according to how I feel, how good I feel in this relationship. It's not about loving the other person. It's about loving me and what I'm getting from this relationship. So when people have a good marriage as well, a good relationship, let's say, a good friendship, marriage, doesn't matter what, it's because they're both happy with that relationship. So they say we love each other. Why? Because that relationship fulfills them. And that's great. But in the wisdom of Kabbalah, love is completely on a different level. It's a whole different spin on things. A person really needs to attain a whole different attribute when we're talking about love and loving somebody, because it has to be completely disconnected from any pleasure that I get for myself. So it's a very different thing. It's very hard to explain. Kabbalists have always troubled themselves over how to explain this properly. And unfortunately, there is no easy way until a person starts to discover his or her nature and then begins to understand that when I say to you, I love you, it's like me saying to my chocolate, I love you, because I'm getting a good chocolate taste and I'm getting a good taste from this relationship. It's nothing more different, unfortunately. So it's very hard to explain, hard to get your head around, and it needs some work on the part of the individual to start to discover what self-love is, and then try to kind of decipher in your mind what this spiritual thing can be, because we have absolutely no contact with that at all until a person really attains spirituality.
So then my next question is, you're going back to what your comments were here. In this world, you can see a husband or a wife, and you can see that they love because the husband they're providing well, or they doing the things that the family needs, etc. So the whole family loves
They fulfill each other's needs.
Exactly.
So that's what they call love.
Correct. And my expression here is that it's externally you can see some elements of it. Whereas in Kabbalah, if you look at a Kabbalist, how can you see if a Kabbalist is a person who's in love, in inverted commas, in a spiritual sense, or has the attribute of love?
You can't. This is why it's a hidden wisdom. It's a secret. This is why the wisdom of Kabbalah had so much, mysticism around it, because it's just not discovered by anyone who looks at you. It's not with your corporeal attitude.
Right.
It's not with what you wear. It's not with your religious clothing or whatever.
Or your external actions.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with it. It's a complete inner state where you're actually utilizing your inner force to apply this attitude towards reality, which you begin to push towards the purpose of life, which is your expression of love towards the others. And it's different. It's really difficult to explain. It's a very difficult concept to get your head around, especially when a person is living in a desire to receive for oneself and has no contact with trying to get out of himself in order to feel other people and so on. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a dilemma, but it needs to be overcome. And it can be with this study, as the person's understanding gets deeper and deeper as to what nature and what laws of nature is. And every now and then a person will get, those little glimpses, these little nuances of what spirituality is, even though he or she's not in it on a permanent basis at the moment. They'll begin to get these little sensations. So there is some discernment along the way.
Right.
Okay. Right then, dear friends, I do believe this is the end of the article. We're very happy that you're with us. Hopefully we'll see you in the next lesson. We're soon going to be finishing off this third semester, and that will really finalize these YouTube lessons, or these first, second and third semesters that we're giving. Hopefully, if you wish to carry on, there'll be an opportunity to come and join our online study courses and continue there and enter a group and see how you go. But as time goes on, if you do take on this study, you'll find and you'll discover there's a very, very enlightening wisdom that really talks to a person. It really talks to the person. It really explains to the person what his or her life really is. So it's very, very enchanting. I'm not going to say mystical, but it's very, very deep. So hopefully we'll see you in the next lesson. If you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask us. Write through to us to asia@kabbalah.academy or africa@kabbalah.academy. Even if you're from another continent, you can certainly send in questions. We were more than happy to answer them. In the interim, all the best. Have a great day or evening.
Bye, everyone.